Hello, I'm Sue. This is my van Norm. It's a G20 1990. I've owned him for about 3 years, and since owning him, taken out the insides and refinished it into kind of a camper. So first of all, I'll show you these, just that they open all the way. And I've put this out here mainly for cooking, but also serving dinners and things. This is an old belt from the secondhand store. These are also belts from the secondhand store. So I put this kind of back door entrance to my water system, super simple. I've got 2 fresh and 1 gray water, and it just makes it easier for taking it in and out. When I first had this idea, I went and looked at the van and I took inside measurements, and then I went home and moved my dining room table and put tape on the floor in the shape of the van, and then had all my must-haves laid out with the size that they are, and made sure that it would all fit in here before I purchased it. Both of these seats swivel, so when we're hanging out in here, we can turn them both around and hang out up here. In the back, I wanted a very open feel in here, and also I wanted it lower than the windows so that we can open the windows at night, turn on the fan, and have a nice breeze come through here, and it keeps it very cool in here. Probably the scariest thing that I did in the van, because I had to get up on the roof and cut a hole into the roof, which is always scary. You only get one shot at getting it right, and it was actually quite easy, just intimidating. Caulking it so that it's not leaking, and I've run the wires down through behind this panel, which goes to my electrical system. Is just a Jackery battery. I was intimidated by the whole electrical thing, so I went this route, and you really just push a button, open it up, and it turns on. And I also have 2 solar panels on the roof. I don't know the size, but I wired them in to this as well. We're at 100% right now on a rainy day, but I haven't been using it much. And it's just super simple. It tells you how much is going in, how much is going out, and you can keep track of it. And if I do, if it's cloudy for a few days and it dies, I can take it out and plug it in somewhere to charge it up to. I don't have a background in construction at all. I watched a lot of YouTube and built everything in here pretty much out of 2x4s and plywood. Trial and error was probably the biggest setback, just learning how to do things and messing it up and then having to redo it. But I mean, that's all part of the process. I was adamant that I was going to do it myself. I had help a couple times holding the giant pieces of plywood through the table saw, or loosening bolts from the bottom of the seat under the van, things like that need 2 people. But other than that, I pretty much did it all myself, from the design right down to the build. I'm proud of it because it fits what I had in my head in the beginning. I got a nice deep sink because I wanted to be able to wash my hair in here if needed. And this is just a Amazon battery operated, you charge it with a USB water pump. So the pump is actually in the head here. And I put it in this location so that I could put it outside as well if I needed to. And this is a Berkey water filter. So you just put water in the top, it filters it down to the bottom, and then this is your drinking water. This is a recent addition. I added this for extra counter space, which is super helpful. And again, cooking, if I wanted to put my stove here, the smoke can go out quite easily. I've dreamt about having a van since high school probably. Although back then it was a VW van that I was dreaming of, and me and my friends would all pile in and go to the beach. And then I started looking at other vans, just so much more space in them, these old conversion vans. And I also have my cook stove, so I just pull it out and cook on the counter, and extra propane, lights, candles, lighters, those things. Then in this cabinet, this is kind of my kitchen cabinet. Got all my silverware, dishes. I went with all plywood, not only because it was a little bit cheaper than regular wood, but it's also lighter. So really the only 2x4s I have is for support under here. Everything else is plywood, and yeah, that is really just for ease of use, cost, and the weight of it. And also I wanted this arch design with the caning in here to allow for airflow through there as well. A lot of times vans get moist and hold a lot of moisture, which is again why I got the fan, but this helps to keep these cabinets fresh. Keep all of my dry goods in this cabinet, and then when I'm going on a trip, I bring the cooler in, and it fits right in between the two front seats there. Two containers under here that just slide in there, and that's where I keep all of my clothing. And then there is a little secret compartment under the bed here. I had some dead space, so I didn't want it to go to waste, so I just made like I can keep my laptop in there. It hides away. It's quite original when I got it. The previous owner, he had started this ceiling, so I finished it. I kind of had to match the wood, but other than that, everything was original. So I had to take everything out. I took all the flooring out, filled all the holes, got rid of any rust, painted. Probably my favorite thing about the van is the bathroom. So I've made this like a hinged top, and you just sit right inside the cabinet. And this is a composting toilet, a urine diverting composting toilet. So all the urine goes in the front here, and you just take that little jug out and dump it. And number 2 goes in the back. And you just take this little handle and turn it, ready to go. A lot of people use Nature's Head, but they have the handles out the side, so it's very wide, and I liked this is a Sea Head, actually made for boats, and it's just a little more compact, and I like that you could take the handle off of it. I think it was around 600 3 years ago, but you could easily make your own out of that with just a gallon pail, toilet seat, and a urine diverter off of Amazon. Like, you could do that very easily. I like learning new things, new skills. I admire people who can do that can just build things. And cost-wise too. I mean, all of these updates cost maybe $3,000, and that's with the expensive, like the sink and the water filter and the toilet and all that stuff. So I think if I would have hired someone to do it, it would have been way more. Another thing I'll point out is my grandpa containers up here, also inspired by grandpa. He had nuts and bolts in similar jars in his garage, so I've put tea, coffee, and sugar in there, and then my spices up here in a magnet holder. And these mugs here I use for everything from coffee to wine. And this is a shower caddy that I got from the dollar store and took it all apart and used these parts, screwed them in, and it's been working great. I have this off of the main battery, so this one is a nice bright light, but at night I just turn on these USB lights. So I wanted curtains in here, but I also still wanted it to stay bright and open, so I decided on these sheer. They don't really stop people from seeing in here, so I do have some that I can put in the windows if I want privacy, but it does make it so people don't really notice it as much, I guess. But I wanted the air to still come through them and the light to still come through them. And they have a nice light feeling to them. I've just put them on a copper wire here, which was super easy to do. And I didn't have to have curtain rods or anything. And I just screwed them in with a screw right into the metal. Did have one across this window, but when my exhaust pipe fell off, I actually took this wire down and tied up the exhaust with that wire, so I haven't replaced it. When I was in northern Ontario, it's very hilly up there, and I lost my transmission in the middle of nowhere pretty much. So going up this big hill, and I just heard it like clunk, and I lost third gear, and then had to go, it wasn't too far, maybe 30 kilometers in second gear with people honking and going around me to get to the next town, where I found a transmission place that could could replace it. And so I was stranded for about 4 days with my daughter at a truck stop motel, which, I mean, 4 days isn't too bad to have a transmission replaced, really. But that was probably the biggest hurdle, because we were on a big family trip, and my dad has a school bus that they converted, and he was ahead of me. So I just told my family, go ahead without me, you know, we'll wait here for this to get fixed. So that was the biggest trial, I think. And other than that, we really haven't had many issues. I've always felt really secure in here. I always take the knife out and sleep with it, and the keys and the knife beside me, but I've never ever felt unsafe anywhere. Nothing in the ceiling, but I have like pink insulation in behind these panels, and on the floor I've got like a Reflectix type insulation. But that's really all. I park it for the winter. I treat it like a baby. So he gets parked for the winter just to save on rust and salt and all of that. I'd like him to last a long time. I left open up here. I've thought of so many different ways to enclose it with a door, but then you don't have great access. So I decided to just leave it open and paint it up here instead. And I've got my window coverings up here. Also the seat belt, which I take off when we're parked so I can turn this around easily. And I really just put like extra towels and sweaters, big bulky things. When I got the van, there was no compartments up here. So I really had to kind of Mickey Mouse this into a little holder for things and a cup holder. Fire extinguisher and a carbon monoxide detector back here as well. And I have a couple of little stools that if I'm spending a lot of time in here, if it's raining or whatever and I'm cooking in here, then I can sit on a stool at the counter instead of kneeling or crouching. I think seeing places I never would have seen before, or even discovering places that are just around the corner from me that I didn't know existed. About 30 minutes from my house is utterly ridiculous. This farm that allows you to stay there for free. And they're a goat farm, but they also have alpacas and chickens and other animals there. But they make ice cream from their goat milk. And it's just cool to go and see these places that I didn't even know. If I didn't have the van, I wouldn't be looking for these places to go see. For me, I use this sometimes as my office as well. So I'll just take my laptop, go down to the dam, sit beside the water, put my computer out and work by the water, which is amazing. And I needed a bathroom in order to do that, because the places that I stay often don't have bathrooms. So, I mean, some people are like, what, you would put a toilet in your van? That's disgusting. So it's all in what you want out of your van, I guess. So biggest advice is planning. Plan what you want before you start. Personal philosophy on life. Well, I think life is all about your connections with people. If we don't have the people in our life, we really have nothing. So I would say cherish your relationships and nurture your relationships, and the rest of it is just noise. And the van helps me do that too, just meeting new people and getting out with new people and being in nature. And I just have an Instagram account, Norm the Van. My van is named after my grandfather, Norm, because he had a van very similar to this.
Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please share it with a friend. Also, if you want to watch more alternative dwellings, we got a playlist popping up right here, and we release new episodes every single Sunday, so consider subscribing.